Tell me, how did you receive these orders?
Orders were received by teleprint, marked for my eyes only.
And what did they say?
From memory, they said, the escape of officer prisoners is a menace to internal securities. As a deterrent, the Führer has ordered that more than half of the escaped officers are to be shot. After interrogations, they will be returned to their original camp and killed en route. These shootings were to be explained by reporting that the recaptured officers were killed whilst trying to escape or while resisting arrest, so that nothing can be proved later.
Hitler's first reaction had been to shoot them all. His senior advisors did their best to dissuade him from an act that would break every rule of war. Then shoot more than half, retorted the Führer. Himmler, head of the Gestapo, chose a figure. 50 would die. Buschel and Scheidhauer, traveling west, made good progress by train. They were heading for France, where Scheidhauer had contacts who could get them away to England. Dennis Cochrane, traveling alone, was also heading west. He planned to cross the border into neutral Switzerland, and from there to freedom.
I think he probably felt he could get farther on his own. He was one among the very early escapees, I think about number 7 or 8. I think the fluent German speakers had priority. Those who stood more chance of getting at farther distance. I think he thought whatever happened that he would come through. And I think even with the escape, he would have gone into it thinking he would succeed. Not just we'll disrupt the German nation, you know, but I think he personally thought he would succeed.
But by now, over 100,000 German troops had joined the hunt for the escapers. The net was closing in.
We walked to Hirschberg West Station, which had trains going down to the Czech border. We were intercepted before we could start buying any tickets by a policeman and a civilian. He said, well, what are you doing here? And I said, well, we're going to buy tickets. He said, Papiera, papers. And I showed him my pass, and he just put it in his pocket. I said, well, look, I've got to get down to Belgrade to have Yugoslavia, see my old mother in German. And he said, well, that's all right. You can come down to the station and explain all that.
Now it was so miserable and cold, everything was wet through. And then about the middle of the night, there's old Henry Birkeland started mumbling and talking to himself, and you know, we thought there's something wrong with him, and he was suffering from something. And I decided, well, we've got to get under cover tonight at least. In the distance we saw a speck of light and thought, well, there must be something there. Approached this hut, knocked on the door, and the reason the lights were on was because there were 4 German guards billeted there, and they came out with their rifles, and that was the end of our walk. Well,
of course, we all met in the police station, and we were all marched down Then, of course, the policemen, 8 of us, and we were all shoved into the same cell. The fact remains that we were beaten by the weather, because if it had been warmer, we probably wouldn't have gone into the town at all or tried to get train. We'd probably tried to get across the mountains and keep hidden. The weather beat everybody.
In Berlin, SS General Arthur Nieb, head of Germany's criminal police, was ordered to compile the death list. As escapers came into custody, he decided who would live and who would die. The Gestapo would carry out the killings until 50 were dead. Far to the west, Buschel and Scheidauer had reached the border town of Saarbrücken. It was less than an hour's walk to France. And their passes got them through. Then it all went wrong. A policeman called out, "Good luck," and Scheidauer answered in English. It was an old trick, and it cost them their freedom. For 2 days they held out, refusing to give their names or any other details. But under threat of being shot as spies, they came clean and admitted they were escaped prisoners, believing they would be returned to Sargon. Tom Kirby Green and Gordon Kidder made it to Czechoslovakia, but they got no further. They were captured near the Austrian border. Evidence suggests that during interrogation they were tortured.
The Gestapo arrived. We could recognize them because they were dressed like, Hollywood Gestapo agents, long leather coats and so on. We saw the guys being taken away. We didn't know who was who.
Yes, I remember this. It was the 29th of March. 4 names were called out. Scanticlas, Pavlok, Kevnarski, and Werman. He said, these men are to pack up their things and follow me. But we thought they were going back to Sargon.
At the same time, in 7 jails all over Germany, other names were being called out. In all, 18 escapers were moved that day and told they were returning to the camp. Among them, Tom Kirby Green and Gordon Kidder, released after 2 days' interrogation. Some hours into the journey, they were invited to get out and stretch their legs.
I knew he was a prisoner of war. I knew about barbed wire and that sort of thing. Everyone was saying how he was safe now. He was safe now. So I didn't worry. And they also said, and I believed them, and I wanted to believe them, that I would see him again one day.
Like all the victims, Tom Kirby Green's death certificate read simply, "shot while trying to escape."